We are still working on proportional relationships involving fractions, and especially the graphs and tables here. So another example. After taking a cooking class, you decide to try out your new cooking skills by preparing a meal for your family. I'm going to use some gourmet mushrooms here. Using the graph below, complete the table of values and answer the following questions. So it looks really right here that we have most of our values. We're only missing a couple. Now, if we need to, remember, if we need to figure out what we're missing, that's our independent variables and that's our dependent. Y depends on x and y here. So if I wanted to figure out what my constant is, I would take this right here, or I could use any of them, but this looks pretty easy. Okay. And to find my constant, I'm going to go y divided by x. My y is 4, and I'm going to divide it by my x, which is a half. Keep it, switch it, flip it. And notice I get 4 times 2, which is 8 over 1, or just 8. So my constant is 8. So that means I can go 1 times 8 here and get 8. If I need to find this one here, remember, this is where we go the other way. If you have your y value, not your x, that's when we divide. What is 16 divided by 8? 2. All right, so just like that, it fills out the table. But I wanted to show you another way to do it. Notice we knew this right here was 1. If I look at 1 on my x-axis here, and I come up to my graph, notice it's hitting the y-axis at 8. And notice we have an 8 right here. So hopefully you're not surprised that if we look at the cost, my y-axis here at 16, if we follow that over, we hit the x value at 2. Okay, kind of fast and sloppy there, but you get the idea. So these are related to each other. Is this relationship proportional? Okay, well, I could go through and I could figure out every single one of these constants. Okay, I could do it for all of them. Or I could look at the graph. And just from the graph, I can say yes, because I know if I divided all the y's by x's here, I'd have a constant of 8. I could say yes from the graph, examining the graph, because it goes through 0, 0, or the origin, and a straight line. All right, so now it says, what is the unit rate, or unit rate for cost per pound? Unit rate, constant, and we have a couple ways we could think of this. We found our constant. It's 8, right? So I could just say k equals 8. If you remember, we also knew on the graph that the unit rate occurred at the point 1, and the unit rate's whatever's with 1. So if we look at the graph, here's 1, it hits at 8. So I can think of it that way. Still get my unit rate being 8. So it does say the unit rate though, so I should write it as a unit rate. And remember, 8 stands for the number of dollars per 1 pound. $8 per 1 pound. It's always per 1. Write an equation. Okay, we've got to start being able to write these equations. So we have this form, y equals whatever k is times x. So you just take this and drop it in, and you get y equals 8x. Totally good to leave it like that, but as I've told you in the past, it's really a lot easier to switch these variables around. I'm sorry, don't switch them around, but make them make sense, a little more sense. So my y here, y is the cost. All right, so maybe I'll use c. C equals 8 times x. Well, what's x? It's weight, or pounds. So I might use p for pounds. You could use w. Okay, this, when we change it around, makes it a little easier later on when we have to substitute numbers in. All right, I already kind of gave you the answer to this next one. What ordered pair represents the unit rate? Well, remember, 1 R. So in this case, 1, because unit rate means per 1, 1/8. Okay, what does it mean? Well, it means 1 pound costs $8. Okay? What does the order pair 216 mean? This is the X, this is the Y. X is our weight, Y is our cost. So 2 pounds cost $16. All right, now here's why this formula with the C and P are helpful. If you could spend $10 on mushrooms, how many pounds would you be? Well, $10 would be cost. So this is like saying cost equals 10. This is helpful because now you know if you're putting it in for P or for C. In this case, I'm putting in for C. So I'm going to go 10 equals 8 times P. I'm solving for P, so I'm going to divide both sides by 8. And if you were to take a calculator and do that, you'd get P equals 10 divided by 8, which is 1.25. That's pounds. So if you have $10, you can buy 1.5 pounds of gourmet mushrooms. Likewise, down here, if you have 30 pounds, that means P equals 30. So if I use this formula up here, I can say my cost equals 8 times my number of pounds, which is 30. And 8 times 30 is 240. Since it's C, it's cost. So big thing I want to remember here, guys, is it's really not different than what we've been doing. The difference comes where we start dealing with some fractions. Even though there wasn't a lot of fractions on this page, we're still talking about proportional relationships and what that means for the relationship between X and Y.